Good morning. It's nice to see all of you this morning
Yeah.
in Kevin's peacock aura head. Love that. Um, yeah, so last week we were doing the Reiki healing, and that made me think about self-healing. Or self-love, which is about self-healing. So, I thought it would be nice to just talk about that and talk about how self-acceptance and self-love really helps us build a foundation to go out in the world and do good things, not only for ourselves, but for other people. And when it's absent, like, it can keep us from doing things and getting out there. And here's Carrie coming on. Morning.
Morning. There's Carrie.
Yeah.
Morning, Carrie.
Morning.
Morning.
So I know it's traditional, often someone opens up morning with like something like a prayer or a saying. And I just want to invoke, I hope all of us do love ourselves well and give ourselves good care so that we can fill our own buckets and be able to go out into that world and fill others. Because that's the whole purpose of it, right? So, yeah, just putting that out there. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning.
Morning, Sally.
Yeah.
Morning.
Hey.
She is.
So I wanted to open it up to sharing, because I think that's like one of my favorite things to do with all of you.
Don't worry about it. She's looking for another one.
Oh, sorry, Bobby. To hear, if you've had challenges with self-love and self-acceptance or, hurdles to overcome with self-healing, and if you've had experiences of moments where you have breakthroughs in that and how they've impacted you. I don't know if that brings anything to mind for anyone. I've had just a journey of physical healing that I feel like a decade got taken out of my life because black mold got me. And I feel like it shut down my ability to connect to spirit world some, because like my whole body's systems were shut down and it impacted that. And it's also hard to connect into spiritual things when you're just in a lot of chronic pain. I think that can kind of block things as well. And as I get better physically, I find that my ability and capacity to connect back into those things is opening back up. Getting back into community like this and other communities is opening up that capacity again. And learning about being neurodivergent has been a really amazing part of self-healing as well, and self-acceptance. And things that I used to critique myself more on, I'm like, you know what, this is just part of who I am. And I don't think I'm going to fix getting tone perfectly and giving tone perfectly as an autistic person. So I just need to let go of that one somewhat, still work on it, but not be as harsh. And I do feel like that has just even recently helped me to shift and open up and not be so worried about taking in a position in some areas of my life of leading some things. And I think that that's making me give back more and be more productive. So that's my kind of personal example that's very recent and very relative. I would love to hear anyone else's thoughts about your own worlds that come to mind about self-acceptance, self-love, self-healing.
Would the my phase of life is, several of you know, is very interesting. I'm 2 years into menopause, just over 2 years. And the things I'm paying attention to have changed. The temperature in my bedroom is very important. Things like having layers of clothes. Although today I'm delighted I'll be putting on my hoodie for the first time all season. Finally autumn. And things like having, there go the dogs, water available, or a fan, or they have a lot to say. Jason's gonna take him outside. Apparently like the weather as much as I do. And getting more conscious of things, like having things that I like, things that make me happy. You know, having something as simple as, I don't like wearing glasses, but I like these glasses. Having socks that I like and shoes that I like, and it just, all these things have really come about much more strongly in the last 2 years, all the way down to comfortable undergarments. It's just, not that I was wearing sandpaper before, but I'm really determined that these things fit and are comfortable and don't cause distress. So it's just really focusing my self-care and self-awareness in a way that wasn't there before. I see that as a gift.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's impacted like how you're able to show up in the world? Like before you started really taking care of those things, do you feel like your mind was like getting pulled away and distracted, or?
In a strange way, I've become more willing and determined to express myself, like things like having my hair the way I want it to be. And these are not girl glasses. Just being more honest in my gender expression has been also very showing up more boldly in the world would be the way I would. It's been interesting.
And how has that impacted your interactions with other people? I'm curious.
I've more confidence. It doesn't even occur to me to wonder what people might think. That has just fallen. That really started to decline after I hit 50. My concerns about those kinds of things, and just turning 54, it's definitely, no, this is who I am. This is who I've been. I just haven't been brave enough to be this person outwardly. So that's been,
Right.
It's really good. It's like sanding away a layer of concern of what other people might think, because that's their business, not mine.
You know, I have a friend, her name is Terry Cole Whitaker, and she wrote a book what is called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business.
Absolutely. And that's a, Dolly Parton's been known to say that, who is always going to get my attention.
And I think that's there's always a balance there between the people of the world that are antisocial and really don't care at all what people think about them. That's in one extreme. So I think what we're talking about is not going too far the other extreme, where we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we are doing and have enough self-appreciation. If not self-love, certainly some appreciation for self and value of one's own being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bobby, do you have anything in your world that, like from way back, where you remember you didn't have as much and something happened to help you get more self-love and acceptance?
I can't think of any one thing that stands out, but as we move along, I'll ponder it in the back of my mind.
Nice. Thanks. Anyone else have an example from their life? Charlie?
Along with that subject is, when Bobby's always getting her nails or pedicures done, and especially I've been cutting my nails forever. I thought, well, that's just, it was called
cheap.
Well, yeah, Bobby. Bobby would always, I'd kind of kid her about if I could have all the money she spent on that, I could retire. But what I found out was that now that I get pedicures, it's a form of self-love, right? It's a form of taking care of yourself.
Self-care, yeah.
Yeah. And then I had an act of love this this week on Friday. I was on a tennis court and we arrived, and there's two guys and a gal, and we all know each other. We play tennis a lot. I'm standing there, and the lady comes up behind me and pulls up my tennis shorts to cover my underwear. Now that's an act of love. And it was such a surprise. I just laughed my head off. I said, feel right at home.
Anyone else have anything that pops up from earlier on in life or currently where you feel like you
Well, we
just gave
talked
yourself
about
a level up?
Yeah, we talked yesterday a little bit about the whole, dominance and oppression kind of mindset. And that's happened to me a lot with work. So I go to work and I have this leadership role, but then I have to take a back seat because of the oppressive nature of hierarchy, et cetera. And so feeling like I'm worthy and taking care of myself and stepping into a role that may be dominant or subordinate, depending on the circumstance, sometimes makes me question, what am I doing here? Why am I with these people? Or why am I making these choices that put me in this bind where I have to choose one way or the other, as opposed to being exactly who I am? So that comes to mind.
And do you find that just accepting yourself and recognizing where maybe patriarchy or the hierarchy is in your way, that you need to give yourself a little bit more of a boost of acceptance and self-love to kind of help you get over that societal structural block?
Yeah. And having friends or other people I can vent to without reducing relationships is a good thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and seeking those people is self-love, recognizing that community is healing and going and engaging.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else have any examples from their life?
I don't know if this is an example, but as I look back on my life, thank you for your service to Be. As I look back on my life, self-love and self-acceptance has come slowly over time. I think part of my conditioning was focusing outward. And today, because I feel I am committed to service, I say, how can I be of service to myself and the other? And partially through my 12-step programs, I've learned that the more I can love myself, then I give from fullness, as opposed to sometimes giving to others to try to get love. So I have this sense that I'm responsible for that with me. And I put myself first because I know that the fuller I am, the more I have to give. But it's come slowly over time to really accept myself, because my conditioning is I want to do it faster, quicker, better. I got to get my mind in the right order. I got to get my body in the right order. I got to get my heart in the right order. But, self-acceptance starts with what is right now. And how can I be lovingly with what is before I look to, be better, be smarter, work harder, get more, that kind of thing. So it's really an internal, it's a very internal process for me. And I think in my prayer and meditation practice, for that period of time that I was connecting with Mary Magdalene and the ancestors, it was all about coming to the spiritual first. Whatever the problem, it's got a spiritual solution. So learning to come there first, but I have to be here before I can go there. So it's been interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, I love that. And one piece that's sticking out for me of what you just said was the conditioning. So you're a woman and you are conditioned to take care of people. And it sounds like in the past, like to the point where you weren't thinking about yourself as much. And, you know, self-love definitely can like have these layers. So like, you know, do you ever remember a time where when you thought, wow, I just need to like care for myself more because I'm just not able to be there for these people like I want to? And like how that shifted things.
Well, what I realized in my spiritual journey is that part of my focusing on others was to fill up an emptiness inside. So I had to get all of that in right order. And for me, that means doing a lot of family of origin work, you know, doing that
Mhm.
work, and then coming back to reparenting here instead of looking to
Mhm.
others. And that's been the key for me, is to, you know, take responsibility for going to the spirit world to get those things filled up, and then choosing appropriate places to talk about it and get the healing, and remembering to
Mhm.
include myself in that journey. I don't know if that answered your question,
Yeah.
but
It just adds on to it. Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of there's a woman named Betty Martin who talks about what she calls the wheel of consent. Really great YouTubes if you ever want to like look her up. Amazing conversations. And she talks about giving and taking. Like there's different, you know, it's not just two ways, you know. Sometimes you give because it's what you want to do, you know. So you were just talking about how you were giving because you were trying to fill something within yourself, and it wasn't necessarily 100% just because someone needed something, right? It was like because you needed something. Yeah, that just is what came to mind around that.
I'll
Yeah.
just say, but a lot of that is unconscious
Mm-hmm.
until I started dealing with my resentments at people because they didn't, you know, I didn't get what I wanted. And then I had to look at, you know, my motivation and make it
Mm-hmm.
conscious, make my
Yeah,
choices to give conscious.
absolutely. Good morning. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Hey,
The
Cindy.
Laura that just joined. Morning.
Yeah, she's on Laura's other computer.
Nice.
Oh,
Laura, you're
there she is.
muted if you're trying to say something really quick.
Good to see you, Cindy.
What a nightmare. Don't even go there, okay? I'm stressed out. But anyway, I did it.
You can breathe now.
Yay.
My husband, I couldn't get on the internet. And, anyway, hi.
Good morning.
Welcome.
And you can change your
Morning.
name too, because you're on here as Laura.
Yes, Laura. One step at a time. Okay, don't stress me out. Okay, I'm here.
All right, we know you're Cindy, so we're good, even if it says Laura.
True. This is true.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thanks for doing whatever you need to do to get on here. I know our technical challenges can be something that spirals frustration at times. So glad you worked through that. Anyone else have any thoughts about times in your life where you even realize that like, okay, I really need to take care of myself, love myself more so that I can be there for other people more fully? Any other
Here's an
moments?
interesting insight, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
The Madonna ministry and the Mary Magdalene priestesshood, to me, is really about finding the divine feminine within ourselves. And part of my journey, when my father divorced my mother after 25 years, she became an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And she was my closest and most affectionate person in my life. And then I lost her.
Hey, John.
And it was
Here.
tragic. And I'm sure that had something
What is going
to
on?
do with my redemption, was kind of running the Madonna ministry, which looks for the divine feminine within ourselves, which is the affectionate part of ourselves that need to balance the masculine part. So that really has taken me full circle. And when we invited the Mary Magdalene priestess to come with us, it became obvious to me that a lot of the women had been battered by men or mistreated, and they were looking for a sisterhood, And so we're all looking for that in our lives to give us meaning and balance. And the other profound thing I'd like to say is in our spiritual traditions, we're always looking, for God, if you could, or goddess, or whatever it is. And too often we're looking for it outside of ourselves because we're saying, well, God won't speak to me. Well, God's speaking through us because God is in us. And to the extent that we can discover the attribute of compassion and love, then we are more fulfilled in our realization that we are God-like. And people have difficulty with that because they think they're being pompous to say that, I am God or I am an expression of God. And there are people that act very pompous with it and they would think they're better than others. And that's not what God is. But it usually takes humility to honor the presence of God within ourselves, to recognize it's in everyone, even the ones we have trouble with. I certainly had trouble with my father when he divorced my mother, and I went through a lot of mixed feelings and emotions about that. So I just want to bring that into play.
Thank you, Charlie. That's all very relevant for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was reflecting on what you had asked me earlier about self-love.
Yeah.
And I realized that in my academic journey to become a psychologist, we never talk about love. That's not part of the academic world, but they talk about self-esteem. And so it's a very different way of looking at it. It basically comes down to the same thing, actually, holding ourselves in a certain esteem. But I think the reason that they don't use love in the academic world is because it so easily crosses over to physical involvement and that kind of thing. And that's not what we're talking about. And the academic world steers away from talking about spirituality because it's kind of the woo-woo world, and a lot of academics don't want to get into that whole thing. But if you really read about what we're talking about, and the training I had was about holding yourself in high esteem. Well, that's the same thing. So when you say self-love or self-esteem, it's the self-esteem seems to be more acceptable to academia than self-love.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Good points. Yeah. Anyone else have any examples from their life they want to share?
A lot of people get confused between self-esteem and being selfish
Absolutely, Bobby.
and self-absorbed. There's a big difference because self-absorbed smacks of narcissism, which means we automatically the focus of the life is about me and what I'm all about, not about the outer world. So I think that we have to really kind of be careful when we talk about that to realize we're really talking about love of self and be more appreciative of who we are, what we've accomplished, where we are in our life, the things we've done that we're proud of, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
that and that we're deserving of love and self-love.
Yes, exactly. And we don't have to earn it.
Absolutely, Bobby.
If we start
really,
to get into a competition for having to earn love, then we're all in the same boat and it's not a happy boat.
yeah, yeah. Words of
which
wisdom.
pushes
Thank
the
you.
balance of divine feminine and masculine out of sorts. When
Yes.
we have those assumptions about ourselves and others.
Yeah. That inner balance of masculine and feminine, what is it? The our emotions and like the intensity of them is what, like the feminine, and like having the healthy boundaries within ourselves helps create the container so we can express them in a healthy way. Yeah, that's definitely part of all this. I was this past little bit of conversation also made me think, like, what would be nice is, we are on this spectrum, like, over here is the narcissist that maybe loves themselves a little too much, and then here is someone who doesn't love themselves enough, and we all want to be in that healthy range.
Yes.
And I do know a lot of women are conditioned to maybe not appreciate themselves as much, and just everyone in general, but it might be nice to just say a few nice things about ourselves, which we're not always encouraged to do. I would love to see that from everyone. So
One of the ways of
anyone
doing
wanna-
that is to learn how to, when someone pays us a compliment, rather than just saying thank you and passing it off, is to say thank you for noticing. And I'm glad you said that, because I also find that I like that part of my personality too. So I'm really working on enhancing that to be more of who I am, and doing the things that detract from that I'm trying to avoid. So
I
kind of
love that,
expanding that
Bobby.
idea.
Yeah,
Because we're all
What
a
are
work in progress. Everybody's a work in
yeah,
progress.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's a really great suggestion, to not just say thank you or just push away the compliment, but like really take it in and acknowledge it, and even going further, it feels like bold, that suggestion that you just made. It feels like, oh, am I going to be seen as like some narcissist if I actually say I agree with you when you give me a compliment like that? Is anyone else getting that kind of internal pushback about that idea? Is it just me?
I was
Um,
trained many years ago in peer counseling. We talked about reevaluation counseling, how we've all gotten so many invalidations in our life. If all we got for the rest of our life was validation, we probably wouldn't be balanced. So we actually practiced giving people a compliment and then, or validating them and having them say, thank you for noticing. And when we put ourselves down, I brought this into the circle because I was trained in a social skills curriculum for children. So it was middle school. So I taught the kids, if you put yourself down or someone else, you have to say two things you really appreciate about that person or yourself. And it has to be sincere. I had the best time with 12, 13, and 14-year-olds. They
Wow.
really, when I would hold them accountable, they would say things like, they'd make a joke at me and I'd say, that sounds like an invalidation. You have to say two things you really appreciate about me. And I'm telling you, their insight, given that opportunity, their graciousness and generosity comes up. And I have those students on Facebook who are in their 40s and 50s. Miss Bart, I do that. I teach my children this. We practice it in our family. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I think people are hungry to care well for themselves and to care well for each other, to speak with what we appreciate. So it's a beautiful practice. I'm glad you brought
I
it up.
love that.
Yeah, I love that Bobby said,
Yeah.
thank you for noticing, because that's what we learned to say. So
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that better than putting $1 in the jar for every time you say something negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the cuss
Positive
jar, huh?
reinforcement.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's a very good point. And the reciprocal of that You know, if somebody's calling me a a-hole or something, if I don't have to defend myself, if I can be in a situation where I can say, I could be that, you know, I've certainly have been that. It's a non-resistant way of dealing with the subject. And that works too. It's more difficult to do sometimes.
When I was an Alateen sponsor, we used to do that too. If somebody was putting themselves down, we would say, okay, let's go around the room and everybody say something nice about that person and something nice about yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, Laura or Sally, either one of you want to be the brave person to start off the example of on here saying one or two nice things about yourself.
Sally D, I think she's talking about you.
No, I'm talking about you, Sally.
Nice one, Sally.
I'm thinking, what do I want to say?
You have to say two more new nice things, Sally, because you just off-put that request.
I can just say I love my ability to articulate clearly. I value communication. I love that I have learned how to have good boundaries and take what is mine and give back to others. And my prayer is always, how can I be of service? I like that about me. My desire is to be of service, and I include myself. So that's 3.
I love it. Thank you, Sally.
Very good.
Nice. Anyone else? I would love if we could get on record, all of us saying something nice about ourselves in this morning talk about self-love.
I love that I am very empathetic and compassionate.
Nice. Thank you. Anyone else?
I love that I really care about people. And I appreciate when I can make children smile.
Mm,
That gives me great joy and just fills my heart.
nice. Nice. Well, I'll say I love that I learned good boundaries in my life and practiced them, and that I feel like I naturally have a good set of ethics and morals that I live by. And I love that I have hung in there even through tough times in life. And I learned to be resilient. Yeah. Anyone else?
I love that I can take a random thing someone else might not notice and turn it into an entire world that a person can escape into, that they may need that escape. They may need that positive experience, or it may just be for fun. I love that I can take an acorn on the ground and turn it into a universe. And I love that I've been fortunate enough to rescue so many animals in my life and make them so appreciative that they're just spoiled rotten and they don't remember anything about being in a bad situation. They just remember that they're going to be cared for, and they will accept that graciously.
Nice.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love that I love myself
Hmm.
because I had so many years I didn't. And so I've, for the last 40, 50 years, I worked on teaching others to love themselves in the community activism that I've done. It was all to teach people to love themselves. They have something to offer and they're worthy of themselves and their own love.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that shows. You know, I love that I can communicate with people and I seem to get my point across sometimes. But you know, I love all that about me, and I thank God that He gave me all those gifts.
Nice. I love that, Kevin. Thank you.
Mm. Okay. I love that, Kevin, that was really great. Love yourself. That's so important. If we don't love ourselves, how can we have the ability to love others and or teach others how to love themselves? So that's very important. So yeah, I'm happy to say that I do love myself today, but it's taken a lot of hard work and lots of perseverance to be able to say that. But again, that gives us the ability to teach others, you know, through our experience and support. So that would be one thing. And I guess that, and I love that I've been able to do the work that I do with my hospice people and my elder care for 43 years and hopefully more because I'm not ready to retire. So I'm happy that I can provide that for families. And, I love it.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Let's
I
see.
love that in my life, I've been given the gifts to be able to teach youngsters. And through my 35-year career at URI, I was able to, I apparently inspire a lot of young folks to go out into the world and live productive adult lives, happy ones, but productive, happy lives. And I frequently run across former students who, because of their interactions with me when they were in college, in the costume shop, they are living very happy, productive lives. And that makes me feel great. You know, that just validates, you know, that love that I have for young folks. And I'm very grateful that I have that, you know, as part of me. And I still like to do it. So,
Mhm. Nice.
yeah.
Love it. Let's
I
see.
would say that I
Nikki,
agree.
did you go?
Yeah, I was just about to. I was going to agree with you, B, on the resilience part. I love that I am a survivor and that I come back from adversity with grand power.
Mhm.
I tend to, you know, look
Nice.
for opportunity in, you know, whatever's standing in the way just to get through it. But I also
Mhm.
love that I have great vision. It's a love-hate relationship because sometimes I see so far into the future that I forget how to be in the present to get there, you know, and build that pathway that it takes everybody else to get to that scene in life. So,
Mhm.
but I love it more than I hate it.
Yeah. Nice. Beautiful.
I love about myself, I love helping people and caring for people.
But unfortunately, she's not very good at
But
it. You know that, don't you?
Yep. That's,
So Dolly has been a blessing in my life in more ways than one.
yeah, thank you. That makes me feel good and it's very rewarding.
She's got a
Yeah, it's
beautiful
very
glow
rewarding.
above her head too.
Yes.
Her crown is wide open.
You got a halo around your head. You like coming in.
Well, thank you guys for giving me that.
And look at this ostentatious meeting that got Dolly to talk. My God, that's America. And the other thing, you know, as I listen to everybody, you know, there's a reciprocal for everything almost. And I taught myself self-reliance, and I taught that to my kids. And now I'm teaching the beauty of relying on others. You know, so there's always two aspects to almost everything.
That's interesting.
yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful reflection.
Mhm.
Very much so. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. That's really like great showing up for yourself and for others and exemplifying. And I absolutely love that. And you know, could we have been there for our communities as much as we have if we hadn't found these paths to care for ourselves, take care of ourselves, love ourselves. Yeah, I think the world is a better place because you all love yourselves. Absolutely. Good work. Yeah. Who found that like challenging? Just curious. I felt a little bit challenged at like part of my share.
I find that it's hard to do the positive without a negative, because I did the spin, it's a love-hate relationship, and it's like, I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
So staying positive with no other inputs is tough for me.
Yeah.
To me,
Well, for
I've
those that
always, oh,
go ahead.
to me, I've always found that challenging because I don't want to sound conceited.
Yeah.
I was raised to be very careful about that. And so that puts you in a shell to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something to kind of overcome, because, you know, we do have that kind of put on us, like definitely as kids, you know, like don't brag about yourself and all of that. But this is a time to celebrate it. So
Yeah, and there's
glad
the
that
whole, the upbringing with the brothers and the family that has sarcasm as their sense of humor. And there's that self-deprecation that comes with it. And it's like, would I just stop that? It's tough.
Mhm. Absolutely.
With
Yeah.
me, it kind of manifested in a strange way about accepting compliments. I was never one to want to accept a compliment. And I carry a 52-inch wooden staff that is ornately carved with oak leaves and whatever. And I constantly get comments on it. And people telling me what a beautiful staff it is, whatever. And I consciously started to thank them for the compliment. And that was one of the first ways I started feeling comfortable about accepting a compliment in such an odd way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes me think like I have this really sweet dog. She's 95 pounds and she's very cute, very friendly. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, she's such a good looking dog. And like, I used to just be like, yeah, you know, it's nice. And now, like, for I think like a year or so, I've been like, I agree. She is a very cute dog. And like, yeah, wouldn't it be a different world if like we in our everyday worlds were comfortable and didn't worry about sounding conceited or narcissistic if someone gave us a compliment and we were conditioned to genuinely agree with it, and it wasn't just this like practice that we do outside of our normal everyday interactions. Like what a different world that would be. Yeah,
Very true.
I can't imagine it right now though, but because if you know you didn't know that person and know they were being genuine, you would maybe think they were being conceited. And that in this moment, like hearing myself say that makes me think I need to double down on celebrating people and encouraging them to do those things in more everyday interactions. Yeah. So thanks for that little gift today, everyone. I appreciate that. Yeah. Any other thoughts around all of this to share? I love hearing from everyone on these.
I think that reflection on yourself isn't a bad thing. Um, I think, if you do it consistently, then there's a kind of like you would think, oh, gee, they're a little conceited over there, talking up all this stuff about themselves. But I don't think it's bad to think positive about ourselves, like good things. Like I have 4 adult children and 6 grandchildren, if I say things to my kids
She
like,
knew I didn't
how
know
would
her
you,
name.
It's on there. I
uh,
can't read.
Their name is
my,
wrong. Just ask. She told us.
Nikki,
Hold
can
on.
you mute them?
it's this computer. It's crazy, Laura.
It's your signal.
I don't know what to hit.
There you go.
Okay, there I go.
Sometimes when
Okay.
you're talking, Cindy, if you shut your video camera off while you talk, then we get your voice very clearly, but we don't see you, just because it's a
Okay.
bandwidth issue.
Okay, so like I don't even know where the video camera button is.
It's down
Like
at the bottom of your
you're gonna
screen.
laugh at me.
Yeah.
I'm not a computer technical girl. I don't like it. It stresses me out because I don't have any patience. So I'm being very
Oh,
honest with
good.
my friends here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We all
I'm
have technical
a
difficulties
process.
for sure.
I'm learning,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
You're okay
But
for
you know
now, so
what?
you don't have to shut it off
It's
yet.
it's important to stay connected. And I'm kind of proud of myself, although it was stressful that I actually got on today. So it just can be easier from here on in, right, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen?
Mhm.
It gets better.
So yeah,
First
okay.
Nice.
one's the worst one, right?
True. Anyway, and I don't know why the video screen does crazy stuff. I don't understand that either, but anyway, I'll just keep trying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
glad to have you.
Nice.
And thank you, Laura, because Laura gave me her old computer. That's why I can be on today.
Awesome.
And I will
And we
change
love
my
you.
name.
I was just going to say we love you just and accept you just the way you are, Cindy.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you have a
Cindy.
halo above your head too. Look at that light. White light.
That's actually the light.
I know. We can aspire.
Exactly.
And Charlie, I
Yeah.
muted you because you were asking some stuff in the background. If somebody wants to speak up, you have to unmute.
Mute.
Maybe
Oh,
help them.
There you go.
there I am. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to connect my hearing aids not working so well. Trying to make it work better. But the new lady on here, she gave us her name. I forgot what it was.
Cindy.
Cindy? Yeah.
Yes, Charles.
Yeah, Bobby was
Thank
asking.
you, Cindy. I didn't hear your name. We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'll have to
Ditto.
show her how to change her name so it says Cindy.
John was going to show me this morning, but I got impatient because he wasn't having patience for me.
I think I might be able to rename you, but I have to figure out which Laura you are. Let me see if I can do that. And it's
Anyway, I was gonna say-
Cindy with an I, not a Y, correct?
Yeah, Cindy.
Gotcha. Let's see.
As I said, when I start getting down on myself or feeling bad, I always go back to gratitude. Make
Exactly.
a gratitude list.
Mhm.
I learned that in program. Keep the
Is that
focus.
gratitude for things outside of yourself, Laura, or things inside of yourself, or both?
Both. I have to be grateful for things that I have accomplished in my life.
Mhm.
And then the simple things like I have a roof over my head and a car to drive and food on my table.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And the
Mhm.
ability to get them there, Laura.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
All about the gratitude and attitude of gratitude, we call it.
Mhm.
Mm. Yep. Nice. Well, this makes me think right now of are there people that we know in our worlds or have known that we've helped them love themselves more? Like we've helped show them that it's okay to love themselves more, and how has it impacted them? And I know through my Tantra work that I did for almost a decade and a half, that was a big piece of things. Is just like helping people accept themselves as they are. And I had to do that to be there to help them do that as well. And that was really amazing to help people connect in more with self-love through that. And just curious if other people have great examples to share of helping other people to love themselves more and the impact it's made.
I can talk to that. I was an Alateen sponsor for 12 years with a group of teenagers. And when we started, I had one young lady, and within a year, I had 30.
Wow.
And I am still in touch with several of them today, and they are all like almost 40 years old now, similar to Sally B's story. And one of them that I have to brag on all the time, she came to me when she was 16. Both of her parents were alcoholics. They were divorced. She had a younger sister that got all the attention because the younger sister was always acting out. But anyway, through Alateen, then she graduated to Al-Anon, and now she is a therapist. She has a degree in social work. She's a therapist, and she works with trauma patients and people with PTSD. And I sent one of my friend's husbands to her, and he raves about her. She saved his life.
Nice. That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
I worked at the teen center in town for 15 years before they decided that we didn't need it anymore. And I've married 3 of them so far. And unfortunately, I've done 2 of their funerals. But I will say, like with you, Laura, it's such a gift when they come back into our lives as adults and they say things like, you know what, Cindy, you remember that time when I was being bullied and you took me in the office and told me to just ignore them because then you own your own power, because don't give the bully your power. And just that alone was such a learning lesson. And they remembered that. And I'm like, such a simple thing, but you know, you really never know what words that we speak touch another human being, in what ways we touch them. So yeah, it's nice.
Or even just listening. What comes to mind for me is during COVID lockdown, I was at a grocery store and I heard screaming, and I got in my car and drove to the street next to the store, and I stopped and someone else stopped because they heard it too. And this couple and myself went up to this teenage girl and asked her what's wrong. And we listened to her. And I'm going to get emotional because like she was, for the first time in her life, speaking up against the molestation she was experiencing by her father to her mother. And because 3 strangers stopped what they were doing and just gave her their attention and believed her, I've kept in touch with her on and off, or she's kept in touch with me. And not only did she called the police that day. They came and they listened to her, which she hadn't had anyone listen to her about it before. And now she is fostering her sisters. She is a young woman, like 20 years old, and she's fostering her sisters with her boyfriend because people stopped and listened to her. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So sometimes it's not even what we say to someone, it's like just hearing them as well and hearing their stories. Yeah. Which is why I love hearing all of your stories, because I know the power of that. So thank you for sharing all of these very personal things about this very personal topic of self-love and acceptance and self-healing. Yeah. Thank you. Any other last thoughts on this bubbling up for any of you that you want to share on this topic?
I don't know, this thought just came to me that it's kind of all of our responsibilities as ministers, I think, maybe responsibility isn't the right word. But to stress that upon people, how much self-love is, how important it is. Sometimes, you say to someone, do you love yourself? And they look at you like you're an alien. What do you mean, do I love
Yeah.
myself? Are you nuts? It's true. So it's important, very important teaching.
Love it. Love it. What would we say to someone to encourage them that it's okay to love themselves? Any thoughts on that?
You deserve it.
You deserve it. I love it,
feel better.
Kevin.
We're
You feel-
raised to believe we're not worthy
Yeah.
from day one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Eat your peas or else you're not gonna make mommy happy is one of the first messages an infant is given at feeding time.
Yeah.
So once we love ourselves, well, then we have to make it a calling to teach others to love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And helping people articulate what they want. That's a question a lot of people don't ever get asked. What do you want? And so we
Ooh, I
go
love
through
that.
entire cycles of what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And you start spewing out these things, and it's like nobody's ever asked me these things before.
Yeah.
It's also
Yeah.
a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, it sure is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So yeah,
also
what are these
think,
stepping stones,
Go ahead.
Sally?
I was just going to say sometimes I think the most important thing I can do is just be with, instead of telling them to think differently or feel differently or do differently, to listen to, why is that such a foreign thought? Just to give people an opportunity to be heard, and then self-love and self-acceptance, when experienced on the outside, starts to become a part of who they are, as opposed to telling them they should love themselves or that's not a good way to think. I mean, if I could have changed my way of thinking and being based on what I read or what someone said, I would have stopped personal and spiritual growth about 40 years ago. So just an acceptance, instead of wanting to explain to them how they should be different, to me has been the most powerful way I've learned to love myself, is to be accepted just the way that I am.
Yeah. That reminds me of even accepting when someone is angry. Like that is something that is so judged and like it's not acceptable. The times when I've said to someone, it's okay to be angry, like that's fine, right? That can be a huge breakthrough for people, accepting them wherever they are.
I've often told women who come to my workshops, I remember this woman, she said, she's checking in, it was just a one-day workshop. I didn't know her. And she said, I'm so angry. And I said, your anger is welcome here. And it kind of shifted her whole world.
That's
She
good.
was
Yes.
a client for about 4 years of mine.
Nice.
Love it. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned about knowing what you want, a motto I've always had, and I've asked people directly, what do you want? If you don't know what you want, how will you know when you find it?
Mhm.
And, I've always lived by that, or tried to live by that.
Yeah. So ways
Wonderful.
that we can encourage self-love for other people that I've heard is listening, is accepting people where they are, and asking them what they want. These are pretty good stepping stones. I love it.
And wanting is a great subject because Ernest Holmes talked about wanting. He calls it the divine urge. We all have an urge, or intuitive And sometimes we hold back because we don't think we're worthy, or what we want may seem selfish, or any of all that. Then Arnold Michael, who started the ministry, he would say the desire meaning in French of sire, of the father. So the wanting urge comes from the masculine principle, and then it enters into the embryo of the feminine womb and becomes available to be spoken. But from a practical point of view, yeah, you get the divine urge, to speak or to move or anything. Honor that for sure.
Speaking
Nice.
of the divine urge, does anybody have a divine urge to have a topic next week and be in charge of that? Carrie,
Yep. I do.
what would you
Yeah.
like to do?
A writing exercise about joy.
Ooh, love it.
Good.
Okay.
Love it.
Love it.
You've got
Thank
it.
you.
So we have homework to think about that?
I'm gonna spring
No
it on.
homework?
Just show up, pen and paper in hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Sounds
And
good.
I
Nice.
have a medicine woman's prayer to end with, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
A medicine woman's prayer. I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I will walk with you through the darkness as you remember your light.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's absolutely
That's
beautiful.
lovely.
Thank you.
Nice.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing.
Bea.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Yes.
wonderful
And may
week.
all of you
Nice
take
week,
your
everyone.
self-love, fill
Happy
your batteries,
Thanksgiving.
and send it out.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Kev.
Thanksgiving, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.